Marital property is any assets and debts that have been accumulated during the marriage. Non-marital property is anything that you brought into the marriage or during the marriage you received by way of gift or inheritance. And so we have very kind of set ways to figure out the value of the marital and non-marital property. For example, if you had a retirement account before the marriage and that retirement account continues to exist now, you get to keep what was in your account plus the market gains on that account. If you put money into a house and you and your spouse now live in that house, you would have a non-marital claim in the home. How to calculate the home is based on a specific formula, but there are some variables, so it's best to speak with an attorney about how to do that math. In Minnesota, marital property is divided in a way that's equitable. And in most cases, equitable means equal. Although there are some circumstances where the court can do an unequal division of the marital estate, although the court can't give one spouse more than 65% of the total estate. It's pretty unusual that a case actually meets the fact pattern for an unequal division of the marital estate. There's a very specific set of factors that the court needs to look at, and whether or not that fact pattern is right for your case, an attorney can help you decide. A closely held business factors into a divorce in that if the business was started during the marriage, the business has marital value. And so we need to value that asset for purposes of crafting an appropriate property division. That's pretty tricky for lay people to do. Typically, we bring in a neutral forensic business evaluator to come in and do the work for us, and they will provide an estimated value. And we use that value to figure out what the appropriate division of the marital estate should be. So, a trend that I've been seeing recently is in the higher net worth divorce cases when the marital estates are a mix of retirement assets and liquid assets. A trend I have seen is giving more of the liquid assets to the spouse who's requesting spousal maintenance, so that the spouse who's requesting the spousal maintenance can utilize the dividends that spin off those assets. And the court typically will use a rate of return of 4% as income to reduce a spousal maintenance obligation. So, that's one trend that we're seeing. So the biggest challenge we face in asset division dispute is typically just valuing the assets. So some assets are readily valuable. Bank accounts, retirement accounts, those are really simple. It is businesses that are tricky. It can be parcels of real estate because we always value real estate at its highest and best use. So it's just making sure that we have the correct values for property and making sure that we know everything that exists, because if there's an asset that's not disclosed, it doesn't get captured on the balance sheet, and then we have to come back later in time and deal with that asset. My advice for people who are in a fight over the division of assets is that you are each going to walk away with approximately 50% of the marital estate. So it's not a good place to spend your resources. Property settlements usually tend to be the easiest part of what we do. It's just a balance sheet and it's just math. We don't want to put good money after bad, and so we want to make sure that we are advising you appropriately on where you should draw a line in the sand and where you should not. In a case where your soon-to-be ex is running up debt and you're worried about it, we see this all the time. And the answer is it depends on the type of debt that is being run up. So if your ex is using a credit card to pay for groceries and child-related items, totally normal marital expenses, that would be considered a marital debt. And it would be captured on a balance sheet. However, divorce decrees do not bind third-party creditors. So if that debt is only in your husband or your wife's name, they will be responsible for paying that debt, and you will pay your share through the overall property division. But if that debt is not for totally normal purposes, and say your soon-to-be ex went on a vacation with their significant other, spending that's in anticipation of a divorce, that is a very specific type of legal claim known as a dissipation claim. And that money can be added back to the balance sheet and considered an advance to that spouse of their share of the marital estate. So that money can be pulled back in.